Imagine stepping into a world where rock and roll meets quiet countryside elegance, where luxury, laughter, and friendship shaped the personal lives of one of the greatest bands in music history. This isn't the story of fame or the stage hits, the story of home. Today, we're opening the door to the private worlds of Queen, Roger Taylor, Brian May, John Deacon, and of course, the incomparable Freddie Mercury. Let's explore the lives they led away from the spotlight, each home a reflection of their unique spirit, their personality, and the unbreakable bond they shared. Let's start with Roger Taylor, the drummer with a heart full of rhythm and rebellion, who always had a flair for living life to the fullest. Among his many homes, there was one that stood above the rest, his countryside retreat in Surrey. Affectionately nicknamed Coat Hanger, though its official name was Milhanger. Now, this wasn't just a house. It was a rock star's playground. Picture it, a dazzling swimming pool glimmering under the English sun. A private go-kart track where Roger could speed around like a carefree kid, and rooms filled with snooker tables, jukeboxes, pinball machines, and fully stocked bars. It was the kind of place where laughter echoed through the halls late into the night. Friends came and went, music never stopped, and the good times rolled endlessly. Roger loved company, and his home reflected that spirit. It was fun, open, alive, and always ready for another song or another story. Roger's charm wasn't just in his fame. It was in his appetite for joy. He didn't hide behind walls. He celebrated life, and Milhanger was his canvas for doing just that. Now, let's step into a completely different universe, Freddie Mercury's home. Garden Lodge, his beloved Kensington mansion, wasn't loud or wild. It was elegant, intimate, and deeply personal. Freddie poured his heart into creating a space that reflected his taste for beauty and peace. Inside Garden Lodge, you'd find exquisite antiques, Japanese art, and delicate ornaments, all chosen with meticulous care. Every single detail, from the silk curtains to the marble fireplace, carried Freddie's unmistakable touch. But there was something extraordinary about how he lived there. Despite being one of the most celebrated performers in the world, Freddie didn't display his awards. The gold, platinum, and silver discs, the countless trophies and honors, he kept them hidden away. For him, Garden Lodge wasn't a museum of his success, it was a home. It was where he could be himself, quiet, reflective, and tender. His close friend, Peter Freestone, once said that Freddie's home radiated a sense of peace and love that words could never fully capture. And it's true, Garden Lodge wasn't about fame. It was about Freddie finding his sanctuary. Freddie's humor, though, was never far behind. Peter Freestone once recalled a moment during a tour in South America when Freddie bought an enormous oil painting, bold, dramatic, and, truth be told, not exactly beautiful. It was so large that shipping it home became a real problem. Peter joked, "Why don't we just strap it under a piano lid and send it back that way?" Freddie laughed, but his brow arched playfully. "And what about customs, darling?" Peter smirked. "Don't worry, Fred. I'll just tell them a fan gave it to you. Nobody will believe you paid for that thing." Freddie, mock offended, shot him one of his famous looks, the kind that could silence a crowd and make a friend laugh all at once. That was Freddie, equal parts grace, wit, and warmth. Now, let's move to Brian May, the genius with the heart of a philosopher. Brian's home was everything you'd expect from a man who built his own guitar and studied the stars. Quiet, cozy, and set along the peaceful banks of the Thames. His house carried a calm dignity that perfectly reflected his nature. When you visited Brian, you weren't greeted by noise or grandeur. You were welcomed with a proper cup of English tea. His warmth wasn't showy, it was genuine and heartfelt. There is a story of one visit where a friend noticed a small semicircular shelf halfway up the wall in Brian's living room. It was lined with plush orange velvet, almost like a miniature throne. Curious, the guest asked about it. Brian smiled and said, "Oh, that squeaky seat, my cat." Minutes later, he reappeared with tea and biscuits. But instead of serving them on trays, he brought them straight from a kitchen drawer. Turns out the workmen had borrowed the trays, and Brian, ever resourceful, simply adapted. A rock legend, an astrophysicist, and an accidental butler. His charm was that he never took himself too seriously. Beneath the brilliance was a man of simplicity and heart. And then there was John Deacon, the quiet one, the anchor. The man who preferred the gentle hum of family life to the chaos of the public eye. John's first home was modest, fitting his reserved personality perfectly. He was never drawn to lavishness. He valued peace, stability, and privacy above all else. Later, as his family grew, John upgraded to a grand Victorian housewarming, traditional and full of character. His friends, of course, couldn't resist teasing him. One joked, "John, your place looks like something straight out of Cluedo." John, ever composed, just smiled. He had that calm, grounding energy that anchored Queen, both on and off stage. He wasn't the loudest, but he was the heartbeat, the steady presence that kept everything in balance. His home mirrored that same serenity, family haven filled with love, laughter, and maybe the occasional bass line humming quietly through the walls. What makes these stories so special isn't the fame or the fortune. It's the reminder that even legends live ordinary moments: tea in the living room, jokes with friends, cats on velvet shelves, and laughter echoing across the garden. Each of Queen's homes told a story. Roger's boundless joy, Freddie's intricate artistry, Brian's quiet intellect, and John's deep humility. For completely different lives, yet forever intertwined by their shared love for music and for each other. Behind the lights and applause, these homes were where the real magic lived. A reminder that even icons need a place to simply be. If you've listened all the way to the end, this part is for you, the true Queen fans. You already know that Queen was more than a band. It was a family. And these homes, these walls that held their laughter and late-night talks, were part of their creative heartbeat. Just imagine those moments: Freddie at his piano in Garden Lodge, Brian tuning his red special at home, Roger racing go-karts in Surrey, and John sitting quietly with his kids nearby. These were the spaces where ideas were born, where lyrics were first whispered, and where friendships became immortal. Even today, fans from every corner of the world stand outside Garden Lodge, leaving flowers, notes, and tributes. They're not just honoring the performer. They're honoring the man who once said, "I won't be a rock star. I will be a legend." And he was right. Freddie Mercury became a legend not just because of his voice, but because of his heart. Roger, Brian, John, and Freddie, all four, lived so differently, but together they built something eternal. Their music didn't just fill stadiums, it filled homes. And somewhere, right now, someone is playing a Queen song, feeling exactly what we all feel: joy and the timeless spirit of a band that refused to fade. Because Queen was never just a moment in time. Queen is forever. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories behind the music. Until next time.